Okay, welcome to the Karen Mitches podcast.
Thank you, Karen Mitches.
Today we have Jeremy Dobski.
That's who I am.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
How's your day going so far?
We don't have to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
It's better now. I'm sitting down in this fluffy chair. I'm wearing a new pair of pants, and I don't know if, when you wear a new pair of pants, you just it doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta break them in.
Yeah, it's been a day where everything feels like a new pair of pants, I gotta, so the new pair of pants being added to the day, just, it's appropriate, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to break them in. You go, maybe they need to be tailored. I'm not really getting pants tailored.
No, I can't. I used to do it, and now I'm like, I'll just find a different pair of pants.
I've never really done that before, but these were on sale, and I was like, I'll try them. I bought every color of them, and I only wore one pair, and I'm like, I'm returning every other pair, and I'll figure out what the hell to do with these. But all my good pants are hang drying right now, and I was like, well, I have the podcast to do, and I got to put on a pair of pants.
Yeah.
And I'm not a sweatpants in public person.
No, I see girls out wearing sweatpants, and I'm like, it's fashionable now. I can do it. But my fear is once I do it, I can't go back. And then the next trend will come, and I'll be like a weird lady who wears sweatpants.
People are just wearing pajama pants and shower shoes out in public now, and it's like, oh, we're just the mental institution is the world. You know, okay, you're wearing pajama pants and you're wearing shoes that don't have laces, made of rubber. It's like, oh, okay, so mental health has gotten this bad that this is just how we're living.
They can't tell the homeless apart from the other ones.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, Toronto is a whole other thing. On Halloween, I like to play a game is that a costume or are we just in Toronto? Yeah, so.
Are you right downtown?
No, I'm an East Ender, but I'm often downtown for work or gigs or whatever.
Every night kind of
pretty
thing.
Much every day. Yeah.
So you're on the TTC when you go to a show?
No, I drive.
Okay.
Because I can't handle Toronto anymore.
Yeah.
But then driving is a whole different version of Toronto. So
it's do you want to be enraged by the traffic or terrified of your fellow passengers?
Yeah. Another thing that happened was, I guess you'll relate in some ways, was so when I quit drinking years ago, I was able to eventually purchase a car.
Yeah.
And I bought a car. And for
Congrats.
years, thank you. And for years, early on, I liked to drive out to shows that would help keep me safe and sober.
Oh, yeah, that's smart.
So I'd be because even when I was at my worst, I never drove drunk, albeit I was broke and didn't have a car. But if I had one in my possession, I would never drive drunk. There's
certain boundaries that for some reason stick when you're drinking.
Yeah.
And it's different for different people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Drugs and alcohol, as wild as I would get, there are certain things I was like, well, I have to be responsible about other people's safety, which is something I was always, pretty cautious of. Even when I was a cigarette smoker, I was never someone who would be smoking in a situation where it would affect someone else. I never stood in the doorway. I wouldn't smoke inside. I wouldn't smoke in the car with other people there.
Yeah.
So you have to have boundaries even at your worst, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I feel like there was something else I wanted. So you got sober, you got the car, and then the car helped keep you sober.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And I can afford to drive a car because I'm not spending my money on alcohol, so.
But then you didn't find some new vice to waste it on?
No, I don't, I don't really like much. No,
Okay, so I know you're a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Did you have the thing where you got sober and then you just went to the gym every day?
In a way, yeah, that's sort of what happened. I was always kind of on and off at the gym. I wasn't a very active young man. I did a little bit of this and that. I was into skateboarding. Wasn't very good at it, but it's a solo activity, just like weightlifting. However, what happened was
I feel like skateboarding isn't so much about being good as it is being
A skateboarder.
Like, yeah, just like up for the hang.
Man. Yeah. No, but yeah, I don't know if you can tell from my voice, but I used to skateboard.
One of my friends told me he got out of skateboarding because when you skateboard, it just like opens you up to meeting too many weird people.
That's interesting. I kind of liked it. I got out of it because I was too old. At some point when you're not good at it and you're on it and you're in your 30s, your bones start to go like, hey man, if you fuck up, we're not coming with you.
Yeah.
You know, so but no, I got into the gym. So one of the reasons I quit drinking was because in a drunk accident, I broke my foot and I couldn't walk, obviously. But I couldn't do comedy for a while as a result of it because I couldn't get out. I was I was in a pretty rough situation already. Like I thought I'd hit rock bottom, and then it turns out there's a rocker bottom, and I'd hit that by breaking my foot because I couldn't do stand-up, and stand-up was the only thing that was like the constant in my life at a time where I was broke. I had just lost my relationship, my apartment, my work. I was kind of couch surfing. And then I ended up in my dad's basement. He didn't want me there, but my foot was broken and I couldn't do anything for myself.
Yeah.
And it was in the middle, it was like up north and far from the city, and I couldn't afford like any sort of rehab, so I just sort of started studying fitness. I was like, I got back to walking, and part of the thing was when I first moved to Toronto from Montreal, where I started doing stand-up. I lived in Toronto most of my life, but I lived in Montreal for a while. Came back here, incident happened almost immediately. I had a job interview the next day and broke my foot that night. Yeah, so I started walking. I had to walk everywhere because I couldn't really afford the bus, and because I was out in Vaughan, there were 2 buses you had to take and pay 2 fares. So I had to walk into Toronto for an hour every night to do comedy.
Oh shit!
And so I started doing that, and it was a joy because I got to walk again. But the pain was pretty bad, and I wanted to not have a limp or as much. So I started teaching myself just fitness. I started getting into shape and taking care of myself. And a thing that actually happened was I took mushrooms, and they were like, "You have to quit drinking alcohol." I was like, "Aye, Captain." So
the mushrooms told you?
Mushrooms told me to stop drinking alcohol. Told me to stop playing with all the stuff. And like, it was about longevity. It's like, if you want this, if comedy's the most important thing to you, then prove it to yourself.
Yeah.
So I quit drinking, and I got into fitness, and it actually took me a long time to become a trainer. And I made a lot of, mistakes with my own body, as one does when you're experimenting. I didn't become a trainer until really the pandemic hit. I was working as an audiovisual technician, and I was fed up with the industry, and I was kind of just not interested in the hours, and it wasn't good for relationships, and it wasn't good. It was good for comedy, but there are more things to life you learn after a few years of doing open mics, and you're like, I'd like to have those things. And then the pandemic hit, and I was like, well, what do I want to do? I was like, I'd like to do something that helps people, which was something that I was thinking about before the pandemic hit. I was like, I think I'd like to do something more useful to others. And
how old were you around that time?
33.
I feel like that's the kind of age when people have that sort of finding out like what they're supposed to do.
Yeah,
like
it's
things like helping others, or like it can be simple, like I need to be outside, or
totally. I was doing stuff, so I was interested in health and fitness, and I really wanted to learn it. I didn't want to be an internet, oh well, I saw a video on Instagram and it's probably true. Like, I really wanted to do the research, and I was already doing it, and I was taking like just courses through the library. And I was actually teaching stand-up to kids as like a mental health thing. And I saw how much it was actually helping them, literacy and mental health, and kind of just a self-expression thing for kids.
Yeah.
And I saw that it was helping them. I don't really like working with kids. That's for somebody else.
How old were the kids?
Anywhere from 8 years old to 18 years old. And I just, it's fine and all, but it's just not what I want to do. But I did appreciate helping people and what that made, what that felt like, and how it kind of removed a lot of the when we go through those woe is me phases in life, the number one thing I think that we should do is figure out how to help somebody else, because then you're not woe is me. You're thinking about somebody else, and you're not stuck in your loop of I'm so important and my problems are the only problems. Go find someone else's problems and help them solve it, and then you'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I just want to work out and tell jokes, and how do I do that? And so I became a personal trainer. I studied for like all of 2020. I went and I found the best course possible, one that allows me as much work as possible, as much knowledge as possible, and then it turns out I'm pretty good at it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you still teach comedy?
No, because the charity I worked for kind of went under. Can you believe that? A charity went under in Canada. There's no funding for anything mental health related.
I wanted to work there.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. There were a lot of problems with the way it worked and the admin and kind of losing people in charge, but it was a really great experience. And I really enjoy, like, I'll help people, like if comics want to talk, like I'm happy to help tag a joke or explain better methods of writing. And I've had to learn quite a bit myself over the years, and like writing my special taught me a lot of skills that I didn't even know were involved in doing stand up.
Do you have any tips that are just for like when you're getting to like the longer level?
Yeah. Make sure your jokes are stories. Make sure your jokes are about you. If it's so, like, it's great to write a joke that's like, oh, that's so clever and like that's so funny, but like audiences want to relate. And I learned this from writing screenplays, from writing my animated series Paralegal, was that story is where people relate. So if you tell a joke, it was also in the time I was writing Paralegal, I was writing my stand-up special, which I'm very proud of, but now I'm like a million times a better comic and I see the errors, but it's because I was learning a skill, and I wouldn't have learned that skill had I not taken on the endeavor of writing a special. Yeah. So it's kind of this hand-in-hand thing. But storify your jokes, make it about you. That way it's universal. That way people can relate, because not everybody... You might get most of the people, but there are going to be people who are like, I'm not really feeling it. But the minute you go, I did this thing happened to me, then all of a sudden they can go, oh, I'm also an I and a me, right? Yeah.
It's weird too. Like I was doing a set and I was talking about my drinking problem, and then this girl was like telling me like she was also in rehab, but she was in rehab for like an eating disorder. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, that's totally different. But people do, like, when they hear you talk about your shit, it just relates immediately to their shit, 100%. Even if there's big differences.
It's like you could be like, you know how moms are like blah blah blah, and that's fine because you'll probably get a laugh. But if you go, my mom is like, then people go, my mom is like that too. Yeah. But if you go, all moms are like this, then people go, I guess so. Like, it's like, I have a joke that really taught me this on my special, because one thing that I thought in terms of doing long form was, I was like, oh, these jokes are done, and then you start putting them together and you go, there's no cohesion here. These are just ideas. And I went, oh, I need to sort of tell a story, because I didn't really want to get too personal on my first album. I wanted to be silly, and I think I accomplished that. I also wanted to get stuff out of the way about COVID, so I didn't really have to be doing that material anymore. Funny enough, the forest fire stuff I wanted to get out of the way too, but it keeps coming back, so I'm like, perfect. Let's bring the forest fires back so my material has longevity. But when it comes to, so I have one joke in particular on the special where it started out as me being like, I know you guys think I'm bald. I know I lost my baby hair, but I'm just waiting for my adult hair to grow in or whatever, right? And like, that's a funny joke, but it doesn't mean anything, right? So what I noticed was when I was working on it, I'm like, there's like 25% of the people in the audience are going, or they're like, what does that mean? Other people got it, right? So I had to hold their hand a little bit. But how did I do that was I told a story. I was like, okay, well, what am I talking about? I'm talking about losing your teeth, which is a universal experience more than losing your hair as a man is, right? Because only some men lose their hair, and only some people really understand that. So if I go, well, losing my hair wasn't as bad as losing my teeth, which was a painful, terrifying experience as a child. You're losing parts of your skull, you know, like pieces of your head are falling out, and people are like, this is good and natural, and adults are chasing you trying to pull your teeth out of your face, and you're like, you know what I mean? They're like, come over here, little kid, let me rip that out of your head. And it's so, you see how like you're laughing harder at that than the original joke. And it's funny because I only told that joke basically for like 2 weeks before, because I was on my way to recording the special, and I was like, this just has to fucking work.
Yeah.
So there are parts of my special that are really interesting because that night was the first time I actually told them that way. Fuck. Like my closer, I didn't finish until 2 p.m. that day.
Oh my God.
There's just, I was like, it's not working. And I called my buddy up in Atlanta, and I was like, why isn't this joke where he's one of my oldest friends in comedy? And he's like, well, what if we did this and change this? And I was like, oh, that's so funny. I hope it works. And it worked. And I'm proud to say that. But I only ever told that joke that way that night, and then never again.
That's crazy. How much of your special had you done, not just that was already written, but like where you kind of practiced it at the longer set level?
Most of it, I would say, it's just like when you go back to the drawing board, you know, okay, tonight, here's what happened, here's what didn't work. But what's really interesting is you go out to practice, you're like, I'm going to go do my 30 minutes. But we all know when you go on stage and you have a script set out for you, I mean, I don't know if it's universal, but I would say most of us, and me especially as someone who likes to rile people up, I never got to practice anything, to be honest. Like on the way to my album recording, every night there was something that I had to deal with. I had two of the worst hecklers of my entire career in the weeks leading up to my album recording.
Fuck. It's like the universe knew you were on a journey.
100%.
And was
you don't get to practice. Are you kidding me? This is stand-up comedy. And that's why, like, I don't get like I'm going to do the same 5-10 minutes every single night, because it's like, okay, then what if someone throws a chair at you? You know, like, what are you going to do? Someone's thrown a chair at me and I had to deal with it. You know, it's like, yeah, one of the nights. So one night I had a heckler where it was just, I was like, all right, I'm just going to leave the stage because this is useless. I'm not doing anything here. It's the most defeated I think I'd ever been. Aww. But she was just so aggressive, and it was ruining the show, and everybody was just not into it.
Was she a drunk?
She was a drunk, yeah. Of course she was.
Is it always a drunk?
No, sometimes it's a person with mental illness problems. Yeah. Or sometimes it's a violent person. But then I had another one where, so I have a joke about how when you go bald, people just make fun of you. But when you have cancer and you go bald, people shave their heads for you. Yeah. And how I think that that's a hypocrisy, because like, if you survive cancer, your hair grows back. You know what I mean? Yeah. And your bald friends can still get cancer, so you're not going to do anything for us. But the joke relies on time and tension. Me being like, oh, isn't that beautiful that people shave their heads for their friends with cancer? And this one guy just couldn't sit in it. He was a huge guy in the front row at a venue where I wasn't on like a dais or anything. I was just on the floor in front of him. Shit. And he was a huge guy, and he got really mad because all he heard was me making fun of people who shave their heads for people with cancer. He's like, my mom had cancer and I shaved my head. And I had to pause. Everyone in the room was like, oh no, what's going to happen? And I had to go, okay, what are my options here? Okay, either I continue the joke. Yeah. I leave. I ask him to leave. I get security involved because he was getting aggressive. I was like, I change the joke, or I make fun of him and hope that he doesn't hit me. And I went, fuck it, I'm going to keep telling the joke. And then I told the joke, and then I was like, I could still get cancer. And he went, oh, but it was a moment like there was a comic, Bobby Knopf. I don't know if you know him. He's a hilarious guy, Ottawa based comic. And he's been doing comedy for like 20 years or something. He's peeking around the corner like, oh no, I see people have their hands over their mouths. People are like, oh, what's going to happen? Everyone's freaking out. Some people like, like there was I had friends and family there, and they were like, what's going to happen? And I was like, I just have to finish the joke. Because the whole point of what I do comedy for is to take people to those places that make them react.
Yeah.
And then go, but I'm going to give you a hug at the end.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to hurt anybody with my jokes.
But he just, that's so frustrating to me, like, that people won't let you tell the joke. Like, it's like when you're watching a movie with someone and they want to, like, ask questions. And it's
Who's
like,
that guy?
Like, yeah, it's like the movie is going to tell us.
The movie's going to tell us. You know, I think that there were two things at play. One, I mean, maybe three things, considering alcohol was involved. But I think there's two things at play. One, people, well, actually, you know, in regards to what we were already talking about, I think it was a successful joke because he related.
Yeah.
He went, oh, I know someone who had cancer and I had to shave my head for him. Right? And he was sitting next to his bald friend, which was really funny too. So it's just like, you know.
The lack of self-awareness.
But the other thing that happened was people don't have attention spans anymore, and I was making them sit in the tension.
Yeah.
So it's funny, attention and tension. That was, you know, like it's a tension, and I made them sit in and at attention, and he just couldn't handle it. He was like, oh. Cancer made me feel bad. And you know what happened at the end of the night? Because I made him laugh. At the end of the night, he came up to me and he apologized. And not only did he apologize, but he had tears in his eyes. And he was like, shit. You know, you just made me remember like what it was like with my mom. And I was like, this is kind of beautiful. I think this big, scary man needed to cry.
He had a cathartic moment.
I think I needed to help this guy find some solace with his terrible experience.
So then when you actually recorded the special, did it go off without a hitch?
It was such a good experience.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I attract wild people. I don't know how many people had seen me before. There were people there specifically to see me, and there were people who are my fans who came out, and then there were people who just came out to the club to watch a comedy show, and it was great. The first show was great. It didn't translate to film so much, and that's the problem with a lot of like filming stuff. Like, as you will find when you film sets, you man, that show was great, and then you watch the footage back, you're like, how come it doesn't feel right? And it's because like the vibe doesn't necessarily translate to video. And the first show was fantastic, to the point where I walked outside, I was like, I don't even want to do the second one. And then the second one was crazy, but people were so wild at both shows. The first show, one guy kept just dropping change in the beginning, and I called him out on it, made a couple jokes, whatever, but it was kind of annoying. And then another guy who was right up front, who one of my openers invited out to come see the show, because this guy just kept being like, hell yeah, and I'm like, that's great that you're so encouraging, but I'm recording my album right now, god damn it. And then the second show was amazing. The problem was that people were like wild. There was a couple making out at one point. There were people shouting stuff, which is, you know, when you listen to the album or watch the special, you'll see and hear it. And then there's this really great part that's kind of funny that you won't really notice in the special. So there were these two girls off to the side next to me, and every time I landed a punchline, one of them would whisper to her friend, be like, oh, that's so funny, or whatever. I don't know what the fuck they were saying, but they were doing that kind of thing, which is great. Like, they were having such a good time. Like, when you watch, you'll see these two girls off to the side of the stage. They're laughing their asses off, having a good time, but they keep turning. And there is a point where I land a punchline, and I did it a little too quickly because I got mad, but I turned to them and I went like, hey, you know this is being recorded, right? And then I made a joke. I do this joke where it's like, you know, if it's like beautiful young women and like they're chatty, I go, well, I understand that you have been beautiful your whole life and you've gotten a lot of attention, but can like an ugly person just have 5? So I did that. They did not like it. And then what's really fun is you'll see the cameraman kind of just pan away from them for the rest of the special. We cut that part out where I chastised them because it didn't work and it's not funny and it makes me look like a dickhead maybe. Or even if it doesn't, it's just an interruption.
Yeah.
But there's this really funny cut that you won't be able to see. I can see it every time.
It's like an in-joke.
Where I'm smiling at the end of my punchline and my face just drops and I turn, but there's a cut and you hardly see it happen. But if you're looking for it, you might find that little Easter egg in there.
It's so hard because I think like if you're in the audience and then the comic has to say something, like you're relieved because they got the person to stop talking. But if you're not like really in that moment, it can seem really scoldy. And I've seen also some comics like they just lose their shit and they kind of ruin the show by trying to address the heckler.
Well, the worst is when you get so frustrated when the heckler or the chatty person doesn't let up, and you get so frustrated that you end up actually lashing out. Because that's when I feel most defeated, is when I'm just like, can you just like shut the fuck up? Like when you hear a comic go shut the fuck up and the audience cheers, that's all great and stuff, but it's really not what you want to do. One, it's not friendly. It doesn't allow for your set to feel good.
Yeah.
Like I prefer to make friends with my hecklers, which is why I created this, this thing to pull out of my pocket. A big part of doing stand-up is to make things seem like it's happening in the moment. So I have this thing, I know you've been beautiful your whole lives, and it's a compliment. It's a compliment. I'm complimenting. You're so beautiful. Everyone loves you. You're wonderful. Nobody loves me. Can I just have a little bit, please? That's really what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I got banned from a dive bar in Peterborough for saying that too. But they wouldn't shut up. And I was just trying, but again, they were like, "Oh, we don't like the way that he called those women out." But like, I'm just trying to be a friend and not be like, "Hey, can you guys shut the fuck up?" It's better than that. But I had a set recently
crazy
where
the things people get banned for. Like, it's never the most offensive thing. Like, I know people who've shut down a mic for being vulgar, but it's like, I've heard so much worse than that.
This was a show where, like, the worst things were being... They kept calling this one fat guy in the audience Peter Griffin. And then I get in trouble for being like, hey, I'm trying to do my art. And I made a joke.
And about you being hot.
Like, I made a joke about how you're hot and I'm not, and I just need some love. Like, and I got banned for that. But it was a shithole anyway, so it doesn't matter. But it was just really funny because I asked to go back. He's like, I can't have you back. The bar doesn't like you. I was like, what?
But that's the thing with, like, a lot of, like, when I feel like with a lot of bars, it's like, the same people hang out there all the time, so it's not just like you're doing comedy to an audience, it's like you're going to this party almost where these people are friends.
Yeah, but it's also like you came here for a comedy show and I'm the headliner. Just why are we not... I don't mind a rowdy audience. I kind of like it. And I'm really good at it. I'm really good at either turning it around or turning it off.
Do you feel like there's something like you want a bad audience but bad in a good way?
No, I don't want to work that hard. I really don't. When I was a younger comic, maybe, but I was a worse comic then, so there's like this strange kind of trade-off where it's like, oh, I'm a better comic and I can handle it better. But like, can I just do what I came here to do? I promise you'll have a good time if you just let me do it, and if you don't, go away, just go, just leave.
Do you think it's like a very Canadian thing? I'm just thinking of, I think it was Kyle Brownrigg who had like this post recently where he's talking about Canadian comics abroad, that like
Toronto comics specifically
shining abroad because they've grown up in venues where like people weren't giving them a chance and being a good audience. So by the time they get to like the UK where you have kind of consistent comedy audiences who are there to watch a comedy show, they've just earned it more, I guess.
Yeah, I always say that like one thing is that if you're a Toronto comic who's really, really doing it, when you leave Toronto, you're the best. And it's because it's so hard. It's so hard here. And it's like even harder than it ever was now because we've lost so many venues. We have less open mics than ever, although recently they started popping up again, which is beautiful. I'm so grateful for it. It feels good again. But it's hard. Torontonians are mean. People in Toronto are mean, and they have no time for anything because everybody's always running late because everything's broken and everything's too expensive. So if they spend money on something, they want it to be a certain quality, which 100% it should be. I think people need to stop being like, this is the best comedy show in town. This is a good enough comedy show and you might have a good time. But like, if it's not the best show in town, we need to stop saying that, because then people go, this is the best. These are the best comics. These people have been on Just for Laughs. Then like, I'm never coming to another comedy show.
Can I have the name Good Enough Comedy Show?
Yeah, do it. Good enough is good.
Because I haven't been on Just for Laughs. Yeah. Like, I'm 3 years in, I am
Maria Bamford has a great joke about why does everything have to be so great.
I love that.
It's such a good joke. She's like, why?
I adore a 2-star experience.
Yeah, it's so good. And I love that too. And that's why, like, you'll catch me at the Groove Bar. Groove Bar was my boxing gym growing up as a comic. Like that's the first bar I was ever assaulted on stage. Like that's
the height of mediocrity.
The best. If you can turn one of those miserable fucks around, one of those Danforth 5 o'clock shadows facing you with a smile, you've done a good job tonight. But I think it is hard and the other thing is Canadian audiences don't like comedy the way that other audiences do. And it's because Canadian audiences don't appreciate Canadian artists the way that everybody else appreciates their artists. So when I do comedy in the US, I notice a difference. When I'm done a show, the audience will come up to you. They'll wait in line to talk to you. They don't know who the fuck I am before the show starts, but at the end of the show, they want to talk to me. They want to ask me questions. They want to know more, even if it's just about Canada, but they want to engage. They buy your merch. They want to see what you're selling. I sell cassette tapes. People don't have cassette players, but they go, yeah, I'll buy that. That's cool. Or I would love to support you. And Americans carry cash. Canadians don't. But Canadians, I find Canadian audiences, you finish the show, and I don't know if you've had this experience, but they walk by and they kind of threw a side eye, go, thanks, and they walk out the door. That's the show.
Yeah.
American audiences, they're like, wow, you came so how long are you here for? Are you doing other shows this weekend? Maybe I'll catch you there. Oh, yeah, you were great. Canadian audiences, hey, thanks, that was good.
It's funny because I don't think I actually realized that our comedy audiences were different, but it kind of makes sense, like, because I feel like I hear this all the time with other things. Like when I was out of rehab, I did a lot of running, and I had all these friends who would do races in the US, but not in Canada, because they liked the American, like when you ran a race in the US, you'd get like all these people who'd come out for it and cheer.
Listen, I love Americans. I love Americans. I do. And I think that Canadians are so arrogant and so pompous, but like that makes us mean. Yeah. Right? Like Americans think we're nice because we pretend really well. I think we're really cooperative. I don't know how polite we are. But I think like there's obviously there's benefits and whatever, but we just see like extreme versions of Americans, but most people in the world are good.
Media has some like American politics, and the media around politics are very evil. Yes. And then you're like mad at Americans, but you're right. Like I don't know about doing comedy in the US, but I know about going to visit my American relatives. Sure. And I'm like, yeah.
But people everywhere are good. There's just dickheads everywhere. I mean, Canadian politics is just cowardly. Everyone's always hiding and like we have the same problems. They're just quieter, and no, we don't have a gun problem quite like the US. But other than that, like I love Americans. I love how straightforward they are, how honest they are. They take up a lot of space, and that's a bit of a struggle. Like when you're just in a space with Americans, you can just feel them.
Yeah. So I was sitting beside this woman. She was from like Connecticut, and then she'd lived in New York for a while. And I was dealing with someone on the phone in Albuquerque, and I got off the phone and I was like, you know what? I think like Americans may actually be nicer than Canadians.
100%. They say good morning. They say hello.
But then she goes to me like, she's like, because she was coming from New York City to Toronto, and she's like, no, Toronto's so nice. She goes, on my way to work in the morning, even the homeless people say hi to me.
What the fuck? Nobody says hi in Toronto. I say good morning to my neighbors here, and they go lock their children up. You know, it's less like, man, like, how are you going to teach your kids not to say hello and good morning and be so fearful?
I do sometimes, like, there's someone in my hallway, and I like avoid having an interaction with them. And if I feel like they're trying to push it on me, I'm like, who is this bitch?
Yeah.
And I check myself. Like, I'm like, yeah, I should know my neighbors. I should be nice.
I go to the South a lot, and honestly, people say hello and good morning. They're friendly. And even, you know what? Even the racists are friendly. It's like a friendly place. And I get that I look like this, but, you know, I'm Jewish. You know, I could tell them that, and they probably keep it to themselves. I think that if you're a racist, as long as you keep it inside, fine.
I don't think American racism is permanent. I think they're on a very long trajectory to get away from it.
I think Toronto's the most racist city I've ever been to. We all only talk about race here. And in fact, I freak out Americans when I talk about Toronto the way that Torontonians do. You just talk about like, oh yeah, you know, I don't have an example, and I'm not going to give one because if I pull one out, I'm going to sound awful. But like the point is like go to a comedy show in Toronto, and it's so racist, and audiences will say so. I've had people be like, that was a really racist show. I'm like, welcome to Toronto, I guess. You know,
it is really racist, and but some of it's just like it's cheap and easy. Like, I don't talk about race, but I talk about gender a lot, and I'm like, I would never really do that out, like when I don't know, it's just like there's so much maybe certain comparisons become cartoonish and simple when you're doing comedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like doing accent work. It's like, okay,
yeah,
all right, you did an accent. What is the joke? You know, yeah, and because it's easy. It's just easy to be like, to lean into the accent, and like if you have it, use it, build your repertoire. But I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, I find that like in that Kyle's messaging there was, I've never done comedy in the UK, but I've done a lot in the US, and I love American audiences. The only time I've ever struggled with an American audience was like one time in Chicago, and they were like real yuppies. It was like really rich people, and they were hard to talk to. I was talking about the homeless problem in Chicago and how it's similar to Toronto's. And they weren't mad that I was talking about homeless people. They were mad that I brought up homeless people. You know what I mean? Like they weren't mad. They weren't like, don't make fun of homeless people. They're like, we don't want to hear about this.
Oh, shit. Yeah. You went to Yuppie Town and called them out.
Yeah. I didn't even call them out, but I think they felt called out.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're doing so well. Yeah.
Fuck. Your comedy for the most part isn't really like political. It's very just like your life.
I don't know what the hell it is. It's just what, like, I guess I'm observational, a little dark. Life stuff, yes. I do. There are political moments, but I'm pretty. I wouldn't say I'm apolitical, but I'm incredibly centrist. Like, I have criticisms for everybody, and so that might be why it seems like I'm not really political, because I'm not like browbeating my audience, you know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, isn't it weird how we do this? Isn't it weird how we also do this, you know?
Yeah.
Which is maybe why I'm open to being cool with Americans, you know.
Okay, this is going back a bit, but you had mentioned like you had worked in like this kind of like audio visual kind of space, and you got away from that. But was that like that? Like, because you did a lot of comedy recording early on in your career.
I've been in audio for maybe more than 20 years. Professionally, a little less than that, but somewhere along 20 years. And I've recorded a lot of people's albums. I've mixed and recorded a lot of people's albums. I produced people's albums. I started a small record label a couple of years ago. We've put out a couple of things so far. We only have a few artists, but whoever we can help, we want to help. And one of the reasons I did it was because I don't like how Canadian comics feel like they can't create product. Like, they don't know how. They don't know where to do it from. I wanted to make things more accessible. I wanted to create an environment, or I wanted to at least facilitate. Like, I don't think I'm that important to create the environment, but I want to facilitate an environment where, like, if one person is doing well, then maybe they'll hand that over to somebody else. And then, like, if we help each other, if everybody is doing, that's why I like open mics, right? Because it's opportunity for everybody to grow and get better. And if everybody is better at comedy, then comedy is better. And therefore audiences don't go, wow, that's the best show in Toronto. Ugh, I'm never coming back. They go, oh, that was actually a pretty good show. You know, maybe next time it'll be even better.
Yeah, because we have like the critical mass of people to have a thing going on here. But then like people have to do certain things within the scene to really.
Yeah. And there's too much backbiting. Like, I think and if not backbiting, there's too much covetousness. Oh, I don't have more than this, so I need to keep it for myself. Or I only book other producers so that I can get on a show. And then, like, it's just a bunch of producers glad handing to each other, and like, what are we doing? What is this? But if everybody has an opportunity to get better, you know, I just don't understand why so many people want to act like they're Lorne Michaels when you took the bus to get to this gig that you put on. You know what I mean? It's like, give people opportunities. The better people get, the better comedy will be. The better comedy will be the more opportunity there is for everybody. The more opportunity there is for everybody, the less we need to chase things like the yuck yucks and the whatever. Like, all these old institutions, Yuck Yucks, Just for Laughs, all of them, they're asking us now to bring them audiences. They're like, what are your numbers like online? Why the fuck am I going to give you my audience if you're the place that's supposed to be giving me the audience?
Yeah.
You know? Like, when I've auditioned for Just for Laughs, they're like, that's great. This is just the beginning. Can you bring us an audience? And it's like, okay, well,
if I had an audience, why would I?
I do. I'm not bringing them to you. You're supposed to, like, isn't the whole point to highlight me, not to bring you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then this is the frustration I have, because I'm like, well, do I have to have a whole separate other thing, like where you get, like, my podcast doesn't have a wide appeal because it kind of appeals to people in the scene, and it kind of, like, people use my clips towards their own existing fans, but it doesn't, like. So then I'm like, do I have another podcast, or do I have sketch? Like, do you have to do this other thing online to get attention there, and then
do as much as you can within the realm of being realistic, and also, what you think you're actually capable of. I think that build your own thing. That's why I started my own festival. That's why.
You have your own festival?
Yeah, with my friend Gabe Coury. We put it on a couple of years now, the Punks Can't Laugh Festival. So
I know this one. Yeah,
and it was like a pop-up that we were doing for a long time. Gabe started it on his own, and I came in, and we did it. But the reason that happened was because I auditioned for for Just for Laughs, and they were like, bring us an audience. I'm like, do you want me to, like, mow your lawn also? I was like, I'm just going to bring my audience to. Thanks for because these institutions are now telling us we have all the power. And then for some reason, comics usurp that power to these institutions. They go, yeah, okay, I'll sign to Yuck Yucks. But then, like you were saying, you have to have a separate thing. If you're signed to one of these places, like Yuck Yucks specifically, you can't have your own thing. They own 100% of your branding. Like, whatever you do, they want some of it. That's what they do. And then, like, you can't work in other places. So, I think it's better to go the independent route if you're brave enough. And I guess that a lot of the time comics just go like, I don't know how. And so that's part of why I wanted to create environments where it is like, well, here's how we can do it together. And it's not necessarily worked because comics are covetous, distrustful, and like, I'll just do it myself. Great, do it yourself. But if you need help, like, let's work together.
Yeah. What I'm wondering too, like, you did your special is also like your album.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, were you able to get good quality with, like, the filming and everything?
Oh, yeah.
Because I guess what I wonder is, like, when you do something like that yourself, do you have to pour so much money into it that maybe that reduces some of the value?
So, one, I was lucky because I'm audio, so I didn't have to pay for audio. And I got some discounts on other things because it's the industry I work in and so the team that I have. I did pour money into it, and it was necessary. The problem is that like if you want a Netflix quality, you have to pay a lot of money. But at the same time, like what I've created is an environment where you can come to me and be like, I only have this budget. How can we do it? I'm like, we can do it. It just won't be like this, but you'll still have something as opposed to nothing.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you're trying to build your fan base, like,
absolutely.
and it's your first album.
Absolutely. And the thing is like, if you record your album and it's good enough quality, you can be on Sirius XM and you can make your money that way. You know, just because you don't have the endorsements of these like old dinosaur institutions doesn't mean that you don't have value. It doesn't mean that you can't do it yourself. And it doesn't mean you can't make money. It doesn't mean we all have to make $40 in a city where there's 8 million people. You know, it's like there are ways. It's just how willing are you to work towards those things? You know, how hard and how much of it are you? Look, bottom line is it's going to be almost impossible to do comedy forever. But I think that if we stopped being so covetous as a body, I understand it's business, you know, it is business. We all need to be business minded. But I think that if everybody is better at the business does better. You know what I mean? Like, look at the tech industry. You know, the tech industry, everyone's trying to monopolize here and there, but everyone's doing so well that that's the biggest industry in the world right now, you know? And like comedy does well, but I think right now there's people think that they have to go and do, you know, the world's most aggrandized open mic on Kill Tony or whatever, you know? And like, I don't know, you can do all sorts of stuff. And I hate social media. I hate it. But the benefit of it is that you don't have to, it's not like the 80s where you had to just hope that maybe a TV producer would pop up in the audience one day, like you specifically.
And think,
and be like, that's the guy.
You're the one.
You're the one. Now you can be the one.
Can you tell me a little more about Paralegal?
Sure, yeah. Paralegal.
So first off, you're making this with Tim
Blair of the Tall Boys.
From Tall Boys.
Tim Blair of the Tall Boys, a dear friend of ours, Matt Lyon, who was actually he was originally just a client of mine as a personal trainer.
Oh.
And we connected. So it's really cool. So here's the story. So Paralegal is a show about ghost lawyers. Paralegal.
And it's animated.
Animated show. And since I was a kid, I used to make the joke, like, paralegal sounds like a ghost lawyer. And people would be like, oh, God. And I thought, and I was like, I wanted to make a TV show. I thought it was going to be like a courtroom drama about a ghost lawyer helping people, you know, solve their unfinished business so that they could.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
that's perfect.
And Tim made the joke, and it's the tagline for the show, specializing in unfinished business law. Right. So what happened was, as I cold called a list of clients, this is when I was working for a gym. Cold called a list of clients, and I found this guy, and it was the day after I fired my agent because he wouldn't let me do voice work. And that's what I'd really like to do, is voice work. I think I have a strange, interesting voice, and I can do voices. I would like to. I fired him. I was like, I'm done with this guy. He was mostly just getting me bald guy roles, and a lot of the time I'd show up and it'd be like 60-year-olds, and I'd be like, do you even know who I am? Like, so I was just so done with him. And the next day, I cold called this client. He shows up for an appointment. He's an animator. And I'm like, you're an animator? Not only did I want to do voice work, but I'm a big animation nerd. Like, it's my favorite thing in the world is cartoons and animation. And I watch as much as I can. So we started kind of geeking out, and he found out I'm a comedian, and he was having trouble with a co-writer of his who he didn't find very funny. And he's like, can you teach someone to be funny? I'm like, you can teach someone how to write a joke. You can't really teach someone to be funny. And we started, you know, really delving into it. So he's like, you know what? I'll train with you. And we started training. And then he'd be like, pitch me some ideas that you have. And I pitched him Paralegal. He's like, mid push-up. He was like, what the do you want to make that? We should make that. I was like, as a cartoon? He goes, yeah. I'm like, you don't think it's a courtroom drama? He's like, come on, man.
It's a ghost lawyer.
Come on, man. And then Tim was going to pull me into the writing room for Tall Boys. I pitched him some sketch ideas. He liked them. We were old friends. Tim and I sort of started together. He's much younger than I am, but we started around the same time, in Toronto at least. And Tim and I had always been good friends. And so he was going to pull me into Tall Boys. Tall Boys wasn't renewed for another season. And then we needed another writer for Paralegal, so I pulled Tim in.
Amazing.
To be like, hey, I know that your show just ended. Do you want to start working on this one? So we started working on this one. And my friend Matt Lyon, who's the animator, like he's an award-winning director, screenwriter. Like he's got some great stuff out there. There's a show on Amazon Prime called Red Iron Road. It's a horror anthology, and he's involved in every episode. Brilliant stuff. But he has an episode that he directed, and I think it's the top 2 episodes. So anyway, we started working on this show. Matt taught us, so the storification of everything I was talking about earlier, Matt was the one who kind of taught me and Tim how to really write. He taught us how to write story, how to actually structure a story, which then had us both going, oh, that's how a joke should be written, because we were just gag writers. We were like, it's a cartoon, here's a gag, falls down the stairs, gets stuck in gum, the gum doesn't come off, it stretches and flings them back, and yada, yada, yada. Matt was like, this is awful, guys. Here's a book called Story by Robert McKee, which is on your shelf behind you. And you guys need to study this and figure this out. And he taught us in 3 months how to write a screenplay. We wrote a full pilot episode pretty much, which we have read in front of a full audience, and it was received really well. Like it's crazy how this went. So the studio liked it. We were able to pull in 3 of the kids in the hall, some real Canadian legends. We wanted it to be like a way for the older generation of Canadian comedians. So the kids in the hall, Robin Duke, Sean Cullen, Nikki Payne, some other really great Canadian artists. We have to hand it over to guys like me, the Tall Boys. Courtney Gilmore is involved in the show, who made the show better because we had a character we were going to have her play, and she was kind of a person of color, and Courtney's like, I'm not comfortable with that. Can we change her? I'm like, if you want, we can make her, an amputee. She was like, can you? I was like, 100%. And it made the show more interesting and funnier because we had better gags now.
Courtney's a great comedian, but she's also somebody like where I just follow her all the time on socials, and I just love her vibe.
Love Courtney. I love Courtney. Her vibe is the best. Everyone should be like Courtney Gilmore. She's the best, and her voice is so perfect for cartoons. Yeah. She's the best.
Very cute. She did. What cartoon was she on?
She's on Paw Patrol.
Yes.
That came after Paralegal, actually, and when she told us, we were like, oh, that's so awesome. So anyway, we have an animated short that we put out as a teaser, and the show is still in like pre-production, sort of a production hell, and like it's frustrating because it's been so stop and start, and like we got really close, and then the business world of it all, the institutions once again got involved and kind of delayed everything, because that's what happens. Without getting sour about it, because like honestly, it's the first real screenplay I ever wrote, and it almost got made for a TV show. Everybody who's listening, nobody has ever experienced that ever. And I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I think I need to for this one, because it's like, holy shit, all I've ever wanted to do is make a cartoon, and the first one I ever wrote at least almost got, like, we did make a cartoon. Yeah. We have the 2-minute short. And yeah, it was such a great experience, because now I know how to do it, and I've done it before, and then I have proof of concept, and I have proof of how hard I've worked, and then I have this team, and I have these 2 friends who I've worked with, and I have all these comics who connected me with, and this other network of animators, and it was so fulfilling in so many ways. And like Matt Lyon, my friend who I wrote the show with Tim, like Matt Lyon, he's like one of my best friends in the world, and I'm so grateful that I even get to know him, because he's so talented and so generous and giving, and like that's if nothing ever happens from the show, there's so much that happened as a result of it. But go watch the trailer. The more numbers we have, the more it can get made. Just look up Paralegal the animated series, and you'll find it. And there was one more thing. Oh, really silly moment was I was on a panel show with Shaggy Two Dope from the Insane Clown Posse.
Oh my God.
And I was hanging out with him and his manager for a bit, and I told them about my show, and I actually told them I told a story on stage with Shaggy there about how I got kicked out of animation camp when I was a kid. And anyway, his manager was like, tell me more about the show. And we had these tarot cards for promotion. So I handed him a bunch of them, and he's like, man, Shaggy's going to love this. And Shaggy signed on to do a voice on the show.
Oh
so if the show gets made, we could have that too.
You've got the Juggalo army behind you.
We got the Juggalo. Yeah. It's incredible. It was like, it really just, there's so much magic happened because of it. And it was like a really wonderful 3 years. And the show, like, the thing is there's no shelf life. It could still happen. It could still happen. We just need numbers. That's really what it came down to, is like everyone. So all the old heads that are on the show are great and wonderful and everything, but no one of the new generation is really like, hey, these guys. And then for us, it's like, oh, you guys are all really great, but you're not high enough for Netflix to want to do something. And then Netflix, we pitched to them, and they were like, we don't want a ghost show. And then they released one that kind of looks like ours, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I don't care. It looks very much like ours. And they released it much after we pitched to them, and it sucks. So at least there's that. Like, their show sucks. It doesn't suck that they...
No, but like, that's what happens. People think like, oh, I can steal your idea and do it cheaper in-house. And it's like, but you're not getting the soul of it, and then it isn't any fucking good.
But I think what they do, because they are such a lecherous industry, I guess they're their own industry, but they are like that, where they'll see us and they'll be like, oh, this is good. This is good. We're not really interested in this kind of thing. And they're like, hey, we should create something that kind of buries that thing. So if that thing comes out, it looks like ours, even though ours looks like theirs. I think that's part of it. Maybe I'm being a little paranoid, but I doubt it.
Yeah. No, I think it's, I am not a paranoid person naturally, but I feel like the state of the world we're in, it's okay to be a little bit paranoid.
You should be paranoid about business practices. Absolutely. Business practices, be a little paranoid, you know?
Yeah. Look for thieves, look for monopolizers, look for the people who are asking you for numbers, and you'll find the thieves. But I like when you bring up the whole idea of like needing to be less covetous within the scene, because I do think it is going to come down to like us kind of like making things together. So if we have that crabs in the bucket mentality, that's going to be the big thing to like.
Listen, AI is going to make it possible for everybody to look like they've done stand-up comedy. So if you're going to do stand-up comedy, you better be fucking good at it. And the only way to get good at it is to have opportunity. And if we're all in that together, then we need to create opportunity for each other and therefore ourselves. It all comes back to the beginning of like, just, if you're feeling bad about yourself, help somebody else. So if you're feeling bad about your comedy career, create an environment where everybody can build together, or if not together, at least build or get better, or you can help. So like, we used to have a show where you would go and you would do 3 minutes, and then comics as a group would be like, oh, I have a tag, I have an idea, here's why the joke doesn't work. Things like that. Like, that's great. That's great. Because look, there are millions of us comedians in the world. There are millions of us. We're not all going to make it. And some people don't even want to make it. Some people just want to do it because it feels good to do, you know? And some people do it because they just want to upset people, you know? And those people should stop doing comedy. Because that's not what it is. Comedy is like, you're supposed to spread truth and love and joy and make people feel better about the world in the state of it, not reinforce that it sucks, you know?
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that you know, like, if we create environments where everybody is doing well, then everybody gets to do well. And isn't that better than some people doing well and everybody going, I hate that guy. Yeah. He's fucking doing well and I'm not doing well. And it's like, Why do you want to create that person? Why do you want people to feel that way? Look at the way billionaires make us feel. That's how being covetous makes everybody feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. And I've really loved having you on.
Thank you so much, Karen. I really enjoyed this. Yeah, it was great.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jeremy.
Thank you. I got to go change my pants.